Designers, what you're looking at here is an InDesign document. It's a 2-page spread. You can see this is the center where the document would fold. And it's set up with a 12-column grid. And the spaces between the columns is called the gutter. This is also the gutter where the page folds. And when I talk about getting flexibility from using a 12-column grid, you can do something like this where you have a sidebar that measures 1, 2, 3, 4 columns across, and then your text could take up a portion of the page. You don't want to make people read across an entire 8.5 inches. It's not a book report. It's an annual report. However, you want it to be very readable. So, for instance, I've added some extra leading here to help facilitate readability. And I can hit, I'm on a Mac, so Command semicolon, Control semicolon will turn that those guides off and on so you can see. But there are many many configurations you can do. You can say, okay, well, I want this to be, 2-column, but I want to have some space on the side, or I want to have a little bit wider column here. So you can see I'm being consistent with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. Underlying structure is going to equal 1 column of text. Now this area here can look kind of drastic. You may have something in there, or I can pull this over. Preserving the gutter. Let's see what that looks like. And if I'm pressing the W on my keyboard now, I may need to pull this in a little bit just to give a little bit more room between the columns. I could otherwise adjust the gutter in my setup. Now, one thing I also want to remind you of, you probably learned this in typography, but this little text block here that I have put on top, let me just show all my guides here. I created just a color block to go behind this column here, this sidebar. And I created this text, which is a little larger. It's also bold. It has a little more leading. And if you go to type, object, text frame options, or Command or Control B, you're going to get these options, and you'll be like, oh, I remember that. Inset spacing is going to give you this buffer. I can really make it drastic here. You see, it's adding space inset from the text frame. Obviously, you want to leave your lines so that people can read them, but you certainly, if I take it all away, my text is hugging the lines, and I don't want that. So you want to demonstrate that you understand how to do this and manage your type. You boss your type around, okay? This is also a vertical justification. So it's not the horizontal, which this is center aligned. And for a pull quote, that's okay, not for body copy. But for vertical justification, if I do top, this text is going to go up here. But remember, we have the inset, so it's not going to go all the way to the top. If I do bottom, it's going to move it down. So if I center it, theoretically, I could fill this with a color. Not going to be pretty, folks, but I could get something like this. So I'm filling the text frame with a color, but I've got insets so that it really looks more professional and easy to read. Okay. I think that about covers it with the 12 columns. There was one thing I wanted to show you in case you didn't know, and I'm looking for hyphenation here. It's hard with this lorem ipsum text, but hyphenation is found in paragraph. See this little check box that says hyphenate? Uncheck it. Your lines are going to change a little bit. You want to keep an eye out and make sure you don't have any, one word at the end of a paragraph. That is a little widow, and you want to eliminate that. So how can you eliminate that? Well, you can edit your type. You can change the size of the frame. You know, you're totally in control. Here's one here. Can I reword some of this to resolve that? Probably. Let's see. Yeah. So, you know, you are in charge here. You can edit this copy to suit your needs, and I wouldn't go in there and start doing little shift returns. I wouldn't start manipulating your text like that, because later on down the road, if you decide to change this up or further develop it, you're going to have to find all those little things, and that's not fun. So that's kind of what I'm going for in terms of underlying column structure, to give you flexibility in your layout, but consistency, so that you're always counting over, say if this is the width of my column, at least I can measure that out going forward, and I can create a unified layout for the annual report. Thanks for watching.